This is Kirk Kenney with Fitt, the Baseball America video podcast. An exciting game tonight, won by LSU 4-3 in 11 innings. Aaron, let's get right to it. A lot of elements to this game. Let's start off with the long balls early. Texas tied a record with 5 homers. What can you say about how the ball was flying out of here early on?
Yeah, it ties a record for most home runs in a CWS finals game. The ball was flying out of this place early, Kirk, and you and I think, commented before the game that the humidity was a lot lower than it has been. About 50%, I think, humidity, as opposed to around 90% a few games earlier last week. So typically the ball travels better when it's less humid. We really saw that. You know, Coach Maneri said afterwards that it seemed like he just got a ball up in the air, he would get out. And give Texas credit. I mean, once again, you know, showing that this is not just a dink and dunk offense. 3 home runs in the 4th inning. First time that's happened since '98, I believe. LSU did it. You know, Travis Tucker, Russell Moldenauer, Kevin Keys. I mean, these guys, you know, they ran into it. I mean, Lewis Coleman left some fastballs up, didn't have as much hop on him as some of his other pitches. I thought it was striking that Coleman gave up 5 home runs today, but, you know, LSU was fortunate. They were all solo home runs. They were able to stay in the game.
Yeah, Texas had 39 homers during its 61 games leading up to Omaha, and now they've got 11 home runs in just 4 games. They're talking about how this park just plays smaller than their home park, which I think is true. Yeah. LSU looked like it was going to come back in this game, but they showed some resolve.
They sure did show some resolve, and you know, Coach Maneri had some very grand things to say about his team after the game, saying that, you know, in his 27 years of coaching, this is one of the most resilient performances he's ever seen from one of his teams. They were down in the 9th inning by 2 runs. Texas was 39-0, Kirk, when leading after 8 this year, and DJ LeMahieu comes up with a big 2-run double. I was impressed that he was able to turn that ball and go down the line. He's usually really an opposite field hitter or up the middle. You don't see him go down the line very often. He just jumped on a good changeup there and you know, came up with a really big hit. And down the stretch, LSU, I think, showed its poise. You know, people talked a lot about Texas being the team of destiny because of all the close games they've won, the comebacks that they've had to make. LSU has had a much easier road, I suppose, in the postseason as far as avoiding those late inning kind of situations. I mean, they've played some tough teams. I don't mean an easy road that way. I just mean they hadn't had a lot of these dramatic games. Right. But today they show that this team is older. They're not gonna roll over when they're down.
Texas seemed to have it pretty much in control. Then they went to the bullpen and started kind of just marching guys out there. What was it that you saw about the use of the bullpen tonight?
Yeah, I thought Augie Garrido's made some strange choices tonight, and it started with taking out Chance Ruffin in the 6th inning. He'd only thrown about 87 pitches. He went to Austin Wood, the closer there. I understand there were some left-handers coming up. That move, of course, backfired with Jared Mitchell hitting a 2-run triple right off the bat. I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean it's the wrong move, but I thought Ruffin was cruising along. He had 10 strikeouts in the game. There was speculation that he was taken out because of cramps. He admitted that he had cramped the bat earlier to Matuk, but he said he felt fine and could have pitched through it.
Yeah, in fact, he said they didn't even ask him how he was. They just took him out. And there seemed like a little tension there between Augie and Chance.
I thought so as well, yeah. I mean, certainly, you know, Ruffin is a competitor and wants to stay in the game, but it seems like he actually could have stayed in the game, and I think he probably should have stayed in the game. Nonetheless, I mean, Wood pitched okay for the next couple of innings, and he kind of had gotten into his own little rhythm, and they took him out in the 9th inning, with 1 out and 1 on to go to Taylor Youngman. I thought this was a really curious move, Kirk, a guy who was slated to start Game 2. He's still going to start Game 2. You know, I understand he's had some success in the bullpen here in the College World Series, but he's not really familiar with that kind of situation coming on in a tight game in the 9th inning, and he couldn't find the strike zone. He threw 6 straight balls. Coach Garrido took the blame for that after the game and said, I put him in a situation where he wasn't comfortable. He certainly didn't look comfortable. I thought there was no reason to go to him when they had other right-handed options, or they could have left Austin Wood out there, a guy who was pitching all right and has a very good changeup against some of those right-handed hitters. So I thought that was a strange move. You know, we'll see how Youngman bounces back tomorrow, Kirk, in the start against LSU.
LSU now 1 win away from its 6th national championship. How do you see Game 2 setting up?
It's a very interesting decision facing Paul Maneri right now. You know, and I think he was very honest, unlike maybe Pat Murphy, who said a couple of times, and he played game. Pat Murphy played games with us when it came to his starting pitchers. There were several times I think he knew exactly what he was going to do. Pitchers themselves later said as much. Josh Spence, for instance, said as soon as they lost to Texas, he knew he was going to come back and pitch them, you know, on short rest. But Murph said the opposite. He said he didn't know, whatever. There's no misdirection with Paul Maneri, Kirk.
Right.
This guy, he tells you, I don't know what I'm going to do. He means it because he's not trying to play games. You know, Paul Maneri needs to decide if he's going to start Anthony Renato on 3 days rest tomorrow. He hasn't pitched on 3 days rest ever at LSU. It will depend a lot on how he feels. Maneri's going to meet with pitching coach David Gruey and try to make a decision. The other option is Austin Ross. I think one thing to think about here is that Matty Ott threw 3 innings today, matching his season high. He's only done that a couple of times this year. So, you know, Renato would have to pitch deep into the game tomorrow, ideally, when you don't have Matty Ott available in all likelihood tomorrow. I mean, maybe, you know, maybe you think about saving Renato and Ott as kind of your stopgap in Game 3 and hope you can cobble it together in Game 2. That way, at least your guys are at full strength in Game 3. Maybe that gives you your best chance. I don't know what he's going to do. I wouldn't want to be in that position, but I think it's a very interesting decision. I think it'll be very interesting to see how Taylor Youngman does tomorrow. Like I said, this thing is still very wide open, I think.
Well, Paul Maneri said he was going to sleep on it tonight, so I guess we'll just have to wait till tomorrow. And until then, this is the Baseball America Video Podcast. Kirk, Kenney, Fitt. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks.